What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back here with my Week 11 running back rankings half point PPR. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on the video. And if you have any fantasy football questions, start sits, any of that good stuff, trade advice, leave it down in the comment section down below. I respond to all comments. Let's hop into these rankings. So at 1, we've got Christian McCaffrey facing off against the Washington football team. McCaffrey was very good for fantasy in his return. Scored over 20 points. Again, I don't believe he scored a touchdown. He's just miraculous, honestly. If he scored a touchdown, he would have had an absolutely monster week. I think that Cam coming back could help him in the running game. They have a connection and, the element of Cam Newton running the ball. Even though Sam Darnold's been running it a lot, or has rushed in a lot of touchdowns in the year, the threat of Cam in the middle of the field is much more real than Sam Darnold, obviously. Moving on to number 2, Naji Harris against the Chargers. They've got that run funnel, and I expect the Steelers to just hand it to Naji, like they always do. Volume beast. You know what you're going to get every week with Naji. 3, Dalvin Cook against Green Bay. The Packers' defense has been really stout this year, but Dalvin Cook's an absolute stud. Division matchup. They know the Packers. I think they'll be able to run the ball all right. I'm still starting Dalvin Cook. 4 might be a bit of a surprise. It's Nick Chubb against the Detroit Lions, assuming he is off the COVID list, of course. If he's not, Deandre Johnson or smash play this week. But, yeah, I think Nick Chubb is a smash play against Detroit. I think he's just going to run all over them, especially with how badly the Cleveland Browns got punked last week. Number 5, I have A.J. Dillon against Minnesota. A.J. Dillon is going to be an absolute smash play every single week that Aaron Jones is out, so probably the next 2 weeks. But for real, I view him as basically a top 5 back moving forward while Jones is out. Because, Aaron Jones is getting 60% of the snaps, A.J. Dillon is getting 40%, but now erase Aaron Jones. I don't think A.J. Dillon goes that 60% role. I think he goes that 80% range, which is just elite for running backs, especially when you talk about a guy who can run down the hill as well as he can. He's going to have receptions in the passing game because he's going to need to fill that Aaron Jones role. He can do that too. He's got good hands for a big back. So you're looking at close to 20 to 25 touches a game with extreme touchdown upside playing in that type of an offense with that type of volume. There's going to be goal line carries, all that good stuff. So, yeah, I view A.J. Dillon extremely highly moving forward. 6, Jonathan Taylor would be a lot higher, just as a tough matchup this week against Buffalo. They're currently first in fantasy against running backs. 7, Austin Eckler, another tough matchup against Pittsburgh. The nice thing about Eckler is he's pretty much game script proof, and he has multiple ways to hurt a defense. So I think, he'll get utilized in the passing game like he always does. Could be a big game for him through the passing game finally, and that could be huge for him. So I'm not scared by Pittsburgh's front, and they allowed some explosive runs last week to the Lions. That could happen with Eckler, so you never know. 8, Alvin Kumar against Philly. Great matchup for him, assuming he's back healthy. 9, James Conner against Seattle. Another guy who's been playing 80% of snaps. He would be higher as well. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether Kyler Murray plays or not, given that they have the bye coming up after this week. But James Conner, if you have him on your team, you're definitely playing him. 10, Ezekiel Elliott against Kansas City. Zeke ran 2 touchdowns in last week. Wasn't super efficient on the ground, but I think he'll have an even better week this week against Kansas City, and he could get it going in what should be a shootout. 11, Leonard Fournette against the New York Giants. Good matchup for Leonard. He's another guy getting the rushing work every week, getting the passing work. I really like Leonard Fournette. 12, Deandre Swift against Cleveland. He had 33 attempts last week, I think. If they can keep it anywhere close, which I don't know if they will against Cleveland, but if they could, he's in line for a ton of work. And if they do go down similar to an Austin Eckler, he just gets a ton of checkdowns. So either way, you're happy. He's going to score points for fantasy. 13, Joe Mixon against Vegas. Great matchup for him coming off of a bye. Gets a ton of volume. Great chance of punching a touchdown in, I feel like, in this one. But James Robinson at 14 against San Francisco. Came back, had 16 touches last week, which is a good amount considering he didn't even start the game. Carlos Hyde did, which, being a James Robinson owner, made my heart sink in my chest, but was able to get over 80 yards from scrimmage, punching a touchdown. I think, James Robinson continues to get more work. If he could just be that guy who gets, 15 to 20 carries a game and is catching 4 or 5 passes. Even as Jags offense, he's just going to keep putting up points. He's a good running back, I have no doubt. 15, David Montgomery. Speaking of good running backs, David Montgomery is a good back. I think we saw him be pretty productive actually against Pittsburgh. Baltimore's front is not what it used to be. I think he's going to have a big game today. I think he's going to get 20 carries, go back to that bell cow role. I don't know if the pass catching work will be there. We've seen him kind of not get that this year. But Damian Williams could potentially miss, so then it'll be interesting to see. Do they use David Montgomery on third down? So they put Khalil Herbert in? I don't know. We will find out this week, though. But with all the volume and the way that offense runs, especially with Justin Fields right now, I just see him getting a ton of volume every single week and really being leaned on by that team because they can't do a whole lot much else. And they could get better coming out of this bye potentially. Maybe that offense just gets it going a little bit better. Maybe 10% better would be huge for them, you know. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse. 16, Myles Gaskin against the Jets. Jets are absolutely awful against running backs. Gaskin's, getting the volume there. So I have him as a top 20 play this week. Saquon Barkley against Tampa Bay. Saquon would be a lot higher if he wasn't coming off of injury. I just don't know if he'll be utilized on every single down and that 80 to 90% snap share that we could see him in this week. And he has a tough matchup with Tampa Bay. They're great against the run. Vita Vea's out, though. That will affect their run defense. But yeah, I just don't know if Saquon will be used as heavily through the passing game as he was earlier in his first week from return. Although I still do think he's a good play and a top 10 back once he's back to his normal role. 18, Michael Carter against Miami. Michael Carter's been good for fantasy lately. He's been getting a lot of volume. The Jets' offense has been pretty bad. Joe Flacco is the starter this week. We'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I think you can play Michael Carter against Miami. Josh Jacobs against Cincinnati. Josh Jacobs is down here just because I just don't know if they definitely could win this game against Cincinnati, but the Bengals are coming off a bye. They should be well prepared. Actually, I think the Raiders are not coming off a bye. Never mind. So, yeah, I have Josh Jacobs ranked accordingly, which is basically a toss-up of a game where I lean Bengals. Antonio Gibson, great last week, got a ton of volume, but is playing Carolina this week. Tough run defense. Just really interesting to see, they're down. If he gets, 12 carries instead of 24, I think that's within the realm of possibility. And against a good Carolina run defense, you won't really be happy with that. He doesn't punch a touchdown in. 21, Elijah Mitchell against Jacksonville. This is an interesting situation to monitor because Elijah Mitchell broke his finger. It's questionable to play. I could see him playing because he's a running back. Fingers don't matter a ton if you're just running the ball. But keep an eye on Jeff Wilson Jr. out there. I think he had 9 or 10 carries this last week. Could be used on third down as well. And could get the start this week potentially against a bad Jacksonville defense. It could be a smash play. So keep an eye on him if he's out there in your waiver wires. Might still be out there. 22, Deante Foreman against Houston. He's looked like the best back on the team so far. I think they start to give him a little bit more work. I think he gets to 40 or 45% of snaps this week. I think he starts to stop being a full three-headed monster of a backfield, and he could potentially provide some good fantasy value. He's shown some burst, and Houston's a great matchup for them, so he could easily punch in a touchdown and be very valuable for fantasy. If you need just a touchdown play too, I think you could play Adrian Peterson if you're searching for that touchdown on the road or in daily formats. 23, Devontae Freeman against Chicago. Latavius Murray didn't practice today. He's missed the last 3 games. Devontae Freeman could be lined for another start, and they just cut Le'Veon Bell. I know they want to get him back in the practice squad, but Freeman could be the lead back this week. So that's why he's there. And then 24, Damian Harris against Atlanta. The reason I have him at 24 is because we don't know if he's going to play for sure. And even if he does play, I think Ramondre Stevenson played well enough and has looked well enough all year that he's going to get some work in this game, regardless of Damian Harris's health status. So that's why I have him at 24, but I still think he's an RB2 if he plays against Atlanta this week. If you guys have made it to this point in the video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. If you have any fantasy questions, put them in the comments. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.